Well, hello. Thanks for joining me today as we discover Lyon and Provence with Viking. I'm Carol Shaddix with Imagine Going There Travel, your Viking Master Cruise expert. We are focused on Viking and all the great itineraries they have. Over 403 ports of call, so just about anywhere you want to go in the world, Viking can take you there. And we'll help you get the best value for your money as well as know about the destination that you're traveling to. Today, we're going to talk about Lyon and Provence, and this is actually a cruise that is part of France's finest. It's Paris to Normandy on this end, where we overnight in Paris and then go to Giverny and the Normandy beaches, but then connect with a high-speed train to do this southern France portion, which is Lyon and Provence. But it's also offered as just a cruise that is just Lyon and Provence, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, we do recommend you go ahead and start in Paris and get some extra time there, and then we'll connect with a high-speed train, but you're going to be able to spend some time in beautiful Lyon, have some time in Arles, as well as do some day trips around that area as well. Now, this is a great trip if you are a seasoned cruiser, if you've done the Danube or the Rhine, maybe you've done Paris to Normandy and looking for something a little different. This is one of those that is the perfect fit for either seasoned cruisers, those who love food and wine, or maybe you want to do a slower type paced cruise. That would be a good one to do here because we are leaving from the ship for a couple different days and going into shore excursions more within the country. And so those that have mobility issues might find this a good match as well. So we're going to start in Paris here, and I'll turn off my camera just so that you can see these beautiful images. But we always recommend starting early with a pre or post extension. Now, with this itinerary, you can start in Paris, as I mentioned, and take that high-speed train in after you've had a couple days to see all the wonderful attractions here in Paris, in the Louvre, and see all the monuments and all that's part of that. Or you can start in the French Riviera, go to Nice, and then start from Avignon. That's my personal favorite way to go. Go Avignon to Lyon and start in the French Riviera. I was on the ship with a client who had actually taken 10 Viking cruises and was taking Lyon and Provence for the second time. And he said one of the reasons he loved it so much was the French Riviera was just such a highlight for them. So either direction is fine, of course, but we recommend a pre-stay if at all possible. And then when you arrive at your destination, we're going to do the Lyon to Provence, Lyon to Avignon direction on this talk. But when we arrived there, we had a guide that did a little get acquainted walking tour of Lyon. Her name was Martinez, and she was just so funny. She was very informative as well, but really was careful not to spoil the cruise for the next day that the tour guide was going to give us. But she said that the French are not very polite when you're crossing the street. So she recommended to give them a beady-eyed look and a little frown. And when you cross, you can do a quick little thank you. But she said that the French have a lot of flaws, but they don't obey any of them. And so she had just a very quick wit and walked us around so we could get our bearings and spend some time in the town just on our own on that first day. And after we had a chance to walk around, have this beautiful weather, as you see here, and those sycamore trees were everywhere, so it provided great amount of shade. We went back to the ship and had coq au vin, which was the special dinner for the evening. And then we turned in early because the next day we were going to have a included tour, which was to the panoramic tour of the city of Lyon. And it was a beautiful day like it is here. We started off with a motor coach tour up to the top of the Fauveur Hill, which is where you see this beautiful basilica. It's got some incredible views of Lyon. And this church is relatively new. It was built in 1872. It only took 26 years to build, which is like microwave fast by European standards. And we saw some wonderful scenes, not only of the church, but also of the surrounding area. You can see the two rivers, the Rhône and Cézanne River there. And this 2,000-year-old city is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So we spent a lot of time just enjoying looking at the top of the hill, looking at the church, and then these incredible views that you could see. We went down the hill after that, and our guide, Jeremy, was always explaining all there is about Lyon and what makes it special. And one of those things is, he said, there are 150 murals in Lyon. And this was the one that he stopped at that had 30 famous residents of Lyon who were either born here or lived here and made significant contributions. This was a friar who took care of some orphans. And then he talked about Chef Paul Lecou, who is a 3-star Michelin restaurant chef who passed away, but said this is a great area for just wonderful food because there are 22 Michelin star restaurants in Lyon. And so our drive was just filled with a lot of information that made this area just come to life, and learning all about the important residents that were here. Louis Pasteur was one, and filmographers were from here. So it was very impressive, the number of great men and women who came from this city. Then we went down to the town of Lyon itself, and Jeremy here, our guide, is standing at this door, and you'll see this little plaque here. I always recommend take pictures of plaques because it helps you remember what you were seeing when you came back. But he was standing here at this door talking about how the streets of Lyon were built horizontally when it was originally built back in the 4th century. But the silk traders were needing to get their goods down to the waterfront, and there were no vertical pass-throughs. So if the weather was bad, it was just not good for the silk. And so they created these things called triboulas. So he opened this door here, and you could see this passageway very dimly lit. But this is where it connects the horizontal streets to the vertical ones. There's over 400 of these. And triboula means to pass through. It comes back, dates back to the 4th century. It was very popular in the Middle Ages, and later used by the French resistance during World War II for secret meetings. So a lot of history here. These are just some snapshots. These are ones that aren't currently being used, but able to just pass through. And as we were going through, and he was telling us all about the triboulas, we had this incredible smell, and we were just could not. It was literally like following your nose. As we got through the other side of the street, we followed our nose to this incredible bakery, this Francois Pral's bakery, where they did the brioche aux pralines, which is an incredible bread with these candy crusted pralines. You can see this beautiful shop with a chandelier. It had some incredible chocolate as well. But this was absolutely a highlight of the morning because it finished our tour. We were hungry, and you can see Meredith. She's the daughter that I took on this trip as a graduation present from her master's program in Barcelona. And it was so delicious. We actually ate most of it on the way back. So just a lot of fun things to do here. The town is full of history, great food, as I said, lots of memorabilia. And I went back to the ship and did some work where Meredith actually just rented a bike and rode around the city. Nice and flat, easy to get around, and a wonderful way to see these colorful houses right there on the waterfront. Our next day was a trip to the Beaujolais wine region, and we had the included tour here. It was about an hour drive outside the city. It took us through some beautiful vineyards, and we went around a lot of roundabouts. There are more roundabouts in France than there are any other place in the world, 60,000 of them. And we learned a lot about the history. And of course, the roundabouts were very beautiful, well decorated. And we had a really informative talk by our guide as we were journeying there. But the guide filled us in on what harvest time looks like here. And when we got to the Welcome Center, it was really interesting because we were there on July 4th. And so they had the mayor singing, bringing his some residents. They sang our national anthem, and they served us coffee and croissants and orange juice. And it was just a delightful way to start the day. It was just such a nice surprise. Our guide said there are 3 buildings in every village: a church, a castle, and a bakery. And in this welcome center, I took a picture of this Beaujolais map here with this region. As you can see over here, all the different areas where this wine is grown, and all of these different regions kind of give it a different, the Beaujolais wine, a different taste. So she said there are 1,500 wine growers in this region. It takes 25,000 people to pick the grapes starting the first week in September, and everything has to be hand-picked. And these baskets can be filled to 88 pounds before they are brought down and dumped into 300-gallon vats for crushing. So it was very informative. And this area where the Welcome Center was, we got a chance to kind of walk around and take some photos. And then we got back on the motor coach, and then we went to the place where we were going to do our wine tasting. This was the chateau that we went to, and it just felt like you were walking into the pages of Pride and Prejudice, just sprawling acreage with large, mature shade trees. There were benches in front of the mansion. The converted stable is used now for events. You can get married there. I think that it was, when we were there, the price was like 5,000 euros for the weekend. It would just be a lovely, lovely place to get married. But the guide was telling us there, you can see the hill where the different plots of vineyards are. And she was showing us about the grape. The Gamay grape actually has 12 different varieties. 95% of it is red. She said the harder the granite and the more it suffers, the better it tastes. So that's very interesting. But having that, there are 17 generations of winemaking that have been produced here. The last owner didn't have an heir, so the will specified the vineyard be donated to the Pasteur Institute. So as I said, she was helping us inspect the vines, and then we walked over to the stable, then down into the cellar, and you could see the moisture here on the side and well lit, but we actually went into this area where the casks were filled with wine, and this is where we would have the wine tasting here in the more modern version, as you will see later. But she's explained that you can see this fungus on the ceiling, and they used to scrub that off, but they found that it actually gave some flavor to the wine that was unique. Some vineyard owners just swear by certain types of music, like Beethoven. The wine picks up the vibrations and it makes it more flavorful. Each of these casks can hold 5,000 bottles. She said when the casks need to be repaired, they actually have to do it in here. In fact, they build the casks inside here because obviously the doorways are not wide enough to get them in there. But we toured this area, and then we went to one of the more modern areas where the wine tasting occurred for us. And you can see this little container here. She actually would pour a little bit of wine, of the different types of wine, explaining all the differences about it. You try it. If you didn't like it, you could dump it into that container, and then she would go on to the next type of wine that you would get a chance to try. So very interesting, very educational. She said that don't judge wine by the price. A good wine is one that you like, and so it was very informative. And for those that enjoy wine, this was something that was a real fun part of the day. The next day, we sailed to Vienne. And in the course of our sailing, we actually had some afternoon entertainment, which was our captain, the second captain was talking about ship navigation. He actually steers a 2,400-ton ship with his right hand. Showed a little video about how the wheelhouse, which is this right here, is raised and lowered depending on whether there's high or low water situations. So that can actually collapse down where they can just about see their eyes above the ship to make sure that they're going to have clearances for the bridges. And so that was very interesting. If you enjoy tours such as that, talk to guest services when you get on board, and they'll be happy to arrange that. So we arrived in Vienne late afternoon. We took the opportunity to walk around this city, which was a lovely little city. We were there in the summer. Again, you could see all the trees, the little shops, flowers sitting outside. So it just had a very French feel. We were there in July. This was kind of our Black Friday, so they had a lot of things on special, and we really enjoyed the shopping as well. What I didn't realize is that the French take their lunch seriously. So from 12 to 2, a lot of the shops were closed. So the next day when I was coming back to get a leather backpack that I had found the day before, the shop was closed. So we had to sail on without it. So very fun afternoon of experiencing Vienne just on our own. And then that evening we had a taste of Provence. And this is one of those evening celebratory meals that Viking does on each cruise that has a theme to it. And everyone gets involved, from the captain to the hotel manager. The tables are decorated. There's all kinds of wonderful food. This was our hotel manager there. He was so much fun. You can see just all kinds of food, desserts. Meredith loved the macarons, and so they brought her a whole bowl full of them. So she was really pleased about that. But it was a lovely day, a wonderful way to cap off a enjoyable afternoon of scenic sailing and visiting in Vienne. And then at the end, they topped it off with a 4th of July celebration. So it was very fun to have them sing for us, and they all kind of dance around the dining room and celebrate, which was really a special way to end the evening. The next morning, we went to, on our official tour, we had a wonderful guide. She was excellent. She talked about how this was actually the oldest Roman road left that was from the 1st century. And you can actually see there's some depression in the road from where the chariot wheels would go over it. But she was really detailed in not only explaining all about it. This is a Roman marker that was every mile and a half or so. Imagine something being there from 2,000 years ago. It is like stepping back in time. But then she took this book and would show us basically what it was like back in the day and how they actually did this and created the roads and the infrastructure there. But you'll see signs of it all along the way. Here is a Roman wall that you just walk by. It's right outside of an office building. In some places, it's 8 feet wide and 26 feet tall. And it's just amazing to see this architecture. Then we were walking down as part of our tour toward the cathedral. This was the postman. I thought that was a great shot of just how they deliver the mail there. And our guide was telling us that you had 2 jobs in the Middle Ages. One was to pray and survive, to eat food. So it was very interesting to just learn not only how much there was conflict during about 100-year period. There were 8 wars of religion there. And she said that a lot of the statues outside the cathedral, their heads are decapitated because one form of the religious war or the other didn't approve of the saints that were in replica there. And so they would just cut off their heads. So very fascinating. We also went downtown. Here's the 1st century Roman temple. And it's just kind of fenced off right there in front of all the other shops. She said that the Romans had about 175 days of worship to their gods every year. They were very superstitious and took it very seriously. So if there was a plague that came through the area, they would blame it on the Christians, and because they didn't sacrifice to their gods. And so there was a lot of persecution and martyrdom there. It wasn't until Constantine actually made Christianity a common religion that it unified the empire and stopped all of the religious persecution to the Christians. So we walked around there and then ended here at the town square. Now, there's normally like an active traveler as well as a gentle traveler. Meredith and I had signed up for the active traveler option, but because there was a jazz festival there, we had to stop at the base of town. But the guide told us that there were little brass medallions in the city that you could follow to the points of interest. And Meredith had a tip that if you download Google Maps while you have Wi-Fi, you can work offline, still stay in the area and get some guidance, whether it's driving or walking. And so we decided to do that. We explored this beautiful amphitheater there, which is, you can see where they're setting up for the jazz festival, which happens in July and August every year. And we just wanted to experience that. We climbed on the steps and sat there, just felt like we were stepping back in time. But then we wanted to see at the top of the hill, there was this chapel, and we wanted to explore that. We thought it would give us some great views. So we're walking around, actually got diverted and to this cemetery with some amazing headstones. Some of them were 6 feet high or taller. And you turn around from there, you got some amazing views of the area. We did finally find the top of the hill, which had a fortress that was built back in the Middle Ages, given to the church in 1023. And what I like to do is always take a picture of the signs there, because it's hard to remember all the details, and it's wonderful to be able to come back and just get reacquainted with that. But from that view, not only was the church beautiful to go into, but you turn around and you could see this incredible panoramic view of the city from above. So it was a really fun day. We were really enjoyed the afternoon, and a great way to get some extra exercise as well. But it was time to get back on board, so we headed back, and that afternoon we had some scenic cruising. A very relaxing day. We enjoyed a lecture from our French program director, her name was Alexandra, and she was so informative. She just explained so much about the area, just talked about how the French are very proud of the region that they're from. So they might say they're from the Burgundy portion of France, or talked about the types of different famous people who came from this area. Or when you're tipping, to notice that if it says gratuity on your bill, that's going to the proprietor. It's not going to the actual server. So if you want to give something extra to the server, just round up. For instance, if it's $12.50, you might want to give $2.50 in cash to actually give a little extra tip. So that was very informative. Then we got to Tournon and had a beautiful afternoon of walking around. This is some of the scenery that you'll see as you're sailing. There are some towns, not as many on the Danube or the Rhine, but a really nice afternoon, and we enjoyed ourselves so much. Then Tournon was our next stop, and we enjoyed being here so much. This is the Hermitage, where we docked right across from this area, and wonderful wines that come from here. There were 2 tours this day, Tournon and Viviers. Now, because we were going Lyon to Avignon, we saw Viviers late in the afternoon. If you're going the other direction, of course, that'll be reversed. But Tournon is known for its chestnuts, its chocolate, and wine. The Rhône Valley has a vineyard hike that's a very popular tour if you want to do that. There are 5,000 wine growers in this region. Our guide said she was actually one of the workers back when she was young, and they employ 50,000 workers here. The film Total Eclipse was filmed here by Leonardo DiCaprio. So if you've seen that and recognize some of the scenery in the background, that's why. And then this is the Hotel de Ville. I'm personally fascinated by old doors. This is a 15th century door that is part of this hotel, which is kind of a main point in the city of Tournon itself. But our guide walked us around. We saw the first suspension bridge that was built in France by Marc Ségun, and it was built back in the 19th century. We had the town getting ready for a parade the next day, so we got to see some of the festivities there. This Celtic castle is a 3rd century castle here. It's had a long history of being either a winery or a jail, or I think it was also a library, so a lot of history. And then the Hermitage, as I mentioned, this hill has some amazing vines that were planted back in 1224, and it is said that it's so popular that Charlemagne would come here to get wine from these vineyards. So there were some people on our tour who had taken the wine and chocolate factory tour, so if that's available when you go, definitely do that. They said it was the best chocolate they'd ever eaten, and the wine was wonderful, and they could have as much as they wanted. So there's a lot to be said for that. This is the oldest private university. 1536 is when it was built. It's now a prestigious high school. And then we had the opportunity to do a local market, which, because of the day we were there, that was open. Again, you can see these beautiful shade trees, which was so nice in July. The opportunity to shop was fun. There was a lot of French milled soaps and just little handcrafts that you could purchase. But these dresses were there. They were about 20 euros. So Meredith got one, but there was only pink, and the lady standing beside her actually wanted the red. So they traded dresses, and we took a picture that night. So just fun to do a little French frock as a memento of your trip, and enjoy being able to shop and buy some local goods. That afternoon, we actually took the motor coach to the Ardèche region, where we were having our afternoon tour, and you can see all these beautiful sunflowers. You can understand where those Impressionists got their inspiration for their works of art, because flowers were everywhere. Just incredible rich soil, does some amazing flowers, vines, olive trees, just everything grows so well here. So a little bit of a blurry picture because that was from my view out of our motor coach, but it was really amazing. And then we got to Tournon, and this was the scenic train ride that we had. This is a train that was built in 1896. The guy that you see there shoveling was very young. His father and grandfather before him actually ran this train and have been running it ever since. And this is just a narrow gauge track, about 3 feet wide. It's a real choo-choo train. And so we had a wonderful time enjoying this beautiful area, just lots of greenery, streams, aqueducts, bridges, just a very enjoyable day. And when we got to the end of the line, they would uncouple the train, and then they would turn it around to reposition the engine to take us back down. So it was a nice time to get off the train. There were some local merchants there selling some candies or breads or jams. So it was fun to do that, bring a little bit of extra money if you're there at that time of year when they're doing that. But then when we went back down, we were able to visit the Locomotive Museum. This is the multi-tube boiler that was invented by Mark Sagoon back in 1827. And of course, you could see all this memorabilia there. We had an outside area was in the highlands. So you can see the lavender, the lavender needs the higher elevations to grow. And so we were there at that time of year, which was nice. And then we got back to the ship, and we had a wonderful French tea, which is tea with some brandy in it, or coffee with brandy. I don't remember exactly. But then we had a lot of French desserts. And then we had a wonderful Provence cultural talk. And we learned so much about the area here, that the lavender needs the high altitude grow, for instance. And so Lavender Fin is what you want to buy when you're bringing back a memento of the trip. You have a lot of history here with the types of artists that were famous from this area. Matisse was a student of Van Gogh and Cézanne, for instance, and Picasso was kind of an adopted son. He bought a chateau nearby where he lived and worked, and just an enjoyable afternoon of scenic sailing and education made this a fun afternoon. And then we got to Viviers, which was founded in the 5th century. It was a former Roman settlement. As I mentioned, we got there kind of at dusk. You can see the pictures we're starting to have sunset here. So I wish we would have left dinner a little early just to see more of this, because we did go high up on the hill, and it would have been a really nice view if we could have had a little more daylight. But our guide was very good, explained all the history of this area. Very quiet town after dark. So if you're going the other direction, you'll probably get to see a lot more of it. Then in Arles, that was our next day. So we actually sailed into Avignon, and then Arles was the tour for the next day. This was the capital of Roman Gaul back in the Roman Empire, but you may recognize this picture because this is where Van Gogh painted this famous scene, and you will recognize that. And he actually painted a lot of canvases here. I think he did 300 in 1 year. So not only is it famous for that, but it's also famous for all the Roman history here. This amphitheater was built back in 90 AD, and you can see the remains of it. There are a lot of really interesting photos along the walls here as you walk around, and it'll talk about the history and the types of entertainment that was here when the people lived here back in the day. And then this is the hospital where Van Gogh was taken after he had the accident with his ear and where he recuperated. There's a wonderful little gift shop here. The courtyard has a lot of beautiful flowers, as you can see. So nice area just to do some shopping and wander around. And then I will really recommend this incredible optional shore excursion. It's called Carrière de Lumière. It's the Quarry of Light. And you can see they actually have done it in different parts of the world. But of course, the quarry here is unique in that it is, it's very high walls. I think the walls are up to 80 feet high. There are 100 projectors with 30 speakers. That literally lets the art come to life. It's set to music. We were there with Van Gogh and then a Japanese artist, and I forget who that was. But if you can imagine Starry Night, where they are able to somehow take apart the painting and then set it to music, so it almost is animated. So these incredible speakers are bringing this beautiful music, and then at the crescendos, you know, Starry Night, it's coming up from your feet and up to the ceiling, and it's just so majestic. And think about sunflowers basically blooming at your feet and coming to life. It's very cool in there. I would recommend you take a jacket. It's a great place if you're hot, but of course it will be especially cooler in the spring and fall as well. The art display wasn't more than about 30 minutes, but it was on repeat, so we were able to stay there long enough. Of course, there's a gift shop there that you can buy things as well. But part of the charm of this was the second half of the excursion, which was a trip to Les de Provence, which is, as they say, one of the most beautiful villages in France, built back in the 10th century. The castle that you'll see was built back in the 13th century. And this was actually transferred to the Grimaldi family in 1642 in appreciation for supporting the crown. So Monaco currently owns this area, but beautiful region. You can see very old, the castle at the top, you could actually tour for like $7. We didn't have €7, sorry. We didn't have a lot of time here. And when the guide told us there was no shade, we decided to actually skip that and just walk around the town, which was beautiful. My daughter actually took this amazing shot. I think they said there were 290,000 olive trees in this valley below. So very wonderful area for not only winemaking, but also growing olives. We had a wonderful time here, just looking around, exploring, but there are a lot of gift shops, arts and gardens, just some incredible views, as you can see here. These little herbs de Provence grinders were fun. They're like €5 each. So they make great gifts, but make sure you pack some bubble wrap because, of course, you're going to need that to protect the, the pottery. I think I had one that did break because I didn't bring good enough protection. So bubble wrap doesn't take up much room and it doesn't weigh anything. So make sure you do that so you can protect your keepsakes when you return. But this was a really fun day. It does get warm up there. So make sure you take an extra bottle of water with you when you leave the ship. I usually like to leave one on the motor coach for when I come back because I'm drinking one while I'm walking around. Then speaking of walking around, Avignon is our last stop, but we do overnight here. We had a wonderful time here. There was a lot to see and do. And of course, the Palace of the Popes is here. That's one of the focal points of your tour the next day. But this is also the inside of it where there's not a lot in there. You'll see pictures of what it used to look like. The guides will tell you the process of and the history of this incredible palace. But it is empty, so just be prepared for that. This is also the day that you can do a tour to the lavender fields if it's in season, or the Camargue region, or Châteauneuf-du-Pape if you enjoy an excursion there. So lots of things to choose from. Our tour in that morning, ending with shopping in Avignon. I thought this was interesting. The townspeople didn't like the concrete walls, so they created a living wall, which is irrigated with a fountain water system. And so it beautifies the area. And then, of course, you go into this incredible market. And the program director met us there, and we had little samples of pickled garlic and olives and little pieces of cheese to taste. And of course, we had some free time to wander around the market as well, which I always enjoy that. There's so much to see. There were lots of little tradesmen that were set up during our walk around the town. And then this was the time where they were doing the theater festivals. So each, you would get a lot of handbills, people encouraging you to come back that night to see the performance. And so these are some dancers that I took some photos of. These shops are just works of art in themselves. So many beautiful things that you can purchase and taste and bring back as souvenirs, which is always really special. And then this is one of the best shops for that Lavender Fin. If you don't do the shore excursion that takes you to the higher elevations of the lavender fields, and you can buy it here in Avignon, La Chateau de Bois actually has a film where they show how the lavender is harvested. You can see in this picture here, there's, I think, Meredith drinking some lavender tea. This is actually a photo of one of the fields where they are harvesting it. So a lot to do here in this Camargue region, in the Avignon region. And this is another very popular tour. It's the aqueducts, which were built without mortar 2,000 years ago. Some of these stones weigh 6,000 tons. Just amazing that it would channel 44 million gallons of water a day over 31 miles. So this is a great opportunity to just talk about why you want to choose a Viking tour and why you want to book it through Imagine Going There Travel. We are your Viking experts, so we actually know the inside scoop on these itineraries. We love helping you get the best promotions that apply. If you don't know the code when you call into Viking, you won't be able to get those extra special deals. And we know how to enhance your journey with those specials, as well as give you some extra bonuses like 200 bonus shipboard credit. Even if you booked in the last 60 days direct with Viking, we can still do that for you. We watch your back. We have a dedicated team of professionals taking care of you, and that reduces the risk for you. You actually know what to expect. We're able to add value and convenience, and we believe that any success is really built on great relationships, and we have that relationship both with our clients and with Viking, so we're able to really give you the best experience overall to feel like this is the perfect vacation for you. That's the goal, is the money that you exchange, you come back with a lifetime memory, and we want to make sure we help you do that. And we're going to do a quick tour of the Viking Longships. This is a Viking longship. It's not necessarily longer than other ships. It's just a tribute to their Viking heritage. And I'll give you a really simple way to understand the layout of the staterooms. Verandas are on this side of the ship, the right side or the starboard side. And this is veranda A, veranda B. They're exactly the same square footage. On the opposite side are the French balconies where you can lean out, but not step out. And I'll show you a picture in a minute. That is upper deck is veranda French balcony C, and then French balcony D on the other side. These are standard staterooms, E and F. More forward is E, toward the back is F. And then we have our Explorer suites, 2 in the back, and then our veranda suites. We have 7 of those on the upper deck on the right-hand side. So you can see small ships, 190 guests, only 4 decks and 95 staterooms. We are the Viking choice of river travelers. They love Viking and been voted #1 ever for the last many years. And the reason is our guests really are well taken care of. This is the guest services area. So when you come through these double doors here, you'll come over here and you'll check in. There'll always be a map or a card. So make sure you take one of those, or at least take a picture so you know how to contact the ship on your travels. And they're always happy to give you suggestions of things to see or special restaurants to try. When you turn around from here, you can see the atrium, very light-filled spaces and very clean lines. So you always feel like you're sailing in your destination. The restaurant is lovely, small seating groups. You can change it up every night if you like. You never have to worry about dressing up, no fussy gear, no bling that you have to bring with you. You're able to just business casual, as they say, that allows you to just feel like you're visiting someone's home and enjoying some amazing food. The Viking Lounge and Bar is where you'll spend a lot of time for port talks. Turn around from that area, you'll see you have the piano, we have some live music or dancing at night or local talent that we bring on board, or our program director will actually be narrating for our scenic sailing days in the afternoon or your port talks in the evening. So lovely little swivel seats, able to just get together with friends and enjoy chatting. The Aquavit Lounge is right inside this area, which is probably the most popular area on the ship, the Aquavit Terrace. You can imagine just sitting here, taking some great photos, sitting in those rocking chairs, enjoying early breakfast or a starry night with some blankets and hot chocolate. This is a very popular area of the ship, and it's patented. No other river cruise company has one like it. The library is always stocked with items that are of interest to the area you're sailing through. And then we always have computers hooked up to the internet, so you never have to bring your laptop if you don't choose to. This is the sun deck where we have a nice walking track, plenty of covered and uncovered seating. There's a shuffleboard and a putting green there for you to keep up with your strokes or have something to do as we're sailing and enjoying time together with friends. And this is the herb garden where our chefs get their herbs to prepare those incredible meals. A quick tour of the staterooms. These are the standard staterooms. 150 square feet are the standard. You can see that high fixed window here. This is I'm about 5'7", so it comes about to my chin, so you can see out, but it doesn't open. This is the French balcony stateroom where you can lean out but not step out. And you have that full sliding wall of windows. And then the veranda, our most popular stateroom, has a chair inside the stateroom as well as 2 chairs and a table outside, so you can enjoy those scenic views, a nice cup of coffee in the morning, or enjoy some scenic sailing in the afternoons in the quietness of your room. Now, the bathrooms all have heated floors, nice amenities, large bottles that you never have to put your readers on to see what you're putting on your body. This is the veranda suite bathroom, so you can see you have the French doors in the bedroom there, and then you have the step-out balcony here. The veranda suite always has some extras that come with it. In addition to the size, there are extra things like laundry, alcohol is stocked in your refrigerator along with soft drinks and wine and beer. So extras there, earlier embarkation access, and a few other special treats that make it a real extra luxury. The nice thing is if you have someone that likes to sleep late or get up early, this door closes and you can come out here and have some privacy, or maybe have some friends to come over and just have a private area to visit in your own living room. And then we have the Explorer Suites, 445 square feet. As I said, only 2 of those. So you are sure to enjoy an extra bit of luxury there with that 270-degree stateroom. We have the Silver Spirits beverage package that comes with that, all of the extras, private transfers when you're coming from the airport to the ship, and lots of special treats for a really celebratory stateroom category. Even in the bathroom, there's some extras, which includes that 2-way glass so that you're able to not miss any of the great views while you're sailing. So I hope this has been helpful. I want to make sure that you understand that we are here to help. We actually just love helping our clients have great vacation memories, because our motto is great vacations matter because great memories matter the most. I'm Carol Shaddix. I want to thank you for taking the time to join me today. And my number is on the bottom of the screen. If you have any questions, feel free to call or email me. We're your personal cruise consultants to make sure that you have the absolute best vacation that Viking and Imagine Going No Travel can give you. Thanks for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time.